The movie opens in 1993 with a scene of a girl traveling on a bus. After a while, three people board and introduce themselves as Tracy, Tony, and Madison. The girl tells them her name is Lisa. Curious, she asks where they are headed. Madison replies that they are going to Sambuci. Lisa smiles and says she is going there too, adding that she is a restorer who specializes in restoring paintings. Tracy shares that they are biologists traveling to Sambuci to study the local wildlife. Late at night, they finally arrive in Sambuci. As they walk through the quiet streets, Lisa mentions that her hotel is in a different direction but says she would love to meet up with them on their day off. Tracy nods and tells her they will be free in a few days and will come to see her then. With that, they exchange goodbyes and go their separate ways. The next morning, Lisa is seen waiting at a bus stop. A man approaches her and tells her that the bus has already left. He asks where she is headed, and she replies that she needs to go to Malvisi Mansion. He offers to help and introduces himself as Marcus, and Lisa shares her name as well. Marcus escorts her to the mansion and, before leaving, mentions that he runs a nearby pub. He invites her to visit whenever she has time. With that, they part ways. The scene transitions to Lisa sitting at Malvisi Mansion. A woman enters and introduces herself as Emma Fosca Malvisi. Emma then leads Lisa to the painting that needs restoration. Picking up her bags, Lisa follows her. Emma shows Lisa the painting and explains that it was damaged in a fire. Lisa asks about the artist, and Emma informs her that it was created by Arcano, a painter from the 1500s known for his ability to depict the unknown. Observing the artwork, Lisa remarks that it is heavily damaged and would take about a month to restore. However, Emma quickly interrupts, insisting that the restoration must be completed within 2 weeks since the painting is set to be part of an exclusive auction in London. She then asks whether Lisa's father had warned her about the urgency. Lisa confirms that he had and assures Emma that she will get started immediately. She then requests permission to sleep in the room with the painting, explaining that it will help her connect better with the work. Emma agrees and then exits the room. Lisa promptly begins working on restoring the painting. As she focuses on her task, she suddenly hears a woman's voice singing. Curious, she decides to investigate. Following the sound, she notices a girl singing a haunting melody. Lisa moves closer, but the moment she gently taps the girl on the shoulder, the girl immediately runs away into the mansion. The scene shifts to Tony setting up a mic in the woods. Later, as he relaxes in his tent, listening to the sounds of the forest through his receiver, he suddenly hears a strange noise. Curious, he decides to check it out. As he walks deeper into the woods, his voice is heard shouting, asking who is there, followed by screams of pain. Hearing the screams, Tracy and Madison wake up in shock. Madison leaves Tracy behind and goes into the woods to look for Tony. While searching, she finds his cap covered in blood. Scared, she rushes back to the tent and tells Tracy that they need to go to the police. Before they can do anything, someone suddenly grabs Madison by the neck and takes her away, leaving Tracy alone and frightened. Terrified, Tracy tries to sneak out of the tent, but before she can escape, someone hits her on the head. The scene shifts to Madison, who finds herself trapped behind bars in a dimly lit cell. As she scans her surroundings, she notices a man named Rocco in another cell, vomiting repeatedly. She asks who he is, but he continues to be sick without responding. Looking around, she spots Tracy in a nearby cell and, moments later, sees Tony locked up in another one as well. The scene shifts to a dinner table where Lisa is having dinner with Emma and her daughter, Julia. To start a conversation, Lisa asks Julia about her grade in school. However, Julia suddenly drops her fork and leaves the table without responding. Emma explains that Julia doesn't go to school because she has a personality disorder and refuses to believe that she is 13 years old. After hearing this, Lisa thanks Emma for the meal and excuses herself for the night. The scene shifts to a figure entering the area where the cells are located. The strange man is named Aruda. From one of the cells, Rocco warns the others not to look at him. However, Tony, unable to control his fear, screams and demands that the door be opened. Aruda remains silent and walks over to a nearby well. He lowers a vessel into the water, retrieves it, and sets it aside. Suddenly, as if overcome by rage, Aruda storms toward Tony's cell and begins beating him mercilessly. He strikes Tony over and over, breaking his hand and delivering brutal blows to his face. Tony desperately tries to crawl away, but before he can escape, Aruda stabs him in the back without hesitation. With no sign of remorse, he drags Tony's limp body to the well and throws him in as the other prisoners scream in horror. The scene cuts to Lisa diligently working on the painting, carefully restoring its damaged surface. While cleaning away the grime, she uncovered a strange, eerie face hidden beneath the layers of damage. Intrigued, she attempted to scrape off the burnt area covering it. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed through the room, startling her. In her shock, her hand slipped, and the sharp tool she was using cut her finger. Gasping in pain, she removed her glove, and drops of her blood splashed onto the painting. Later that night, despite her injury, Lisa struggled to continue working. The wound stung, but she refused to stop. Suddenly, the lights flickered and then went out, plunging the room into darkness. A moment later, she noticed someone entering. As her eyes adjusted, she recognized the figure as her father. His expression seemed cold and filled with disappointment. He told her that he should never have trusted her. Before she could react, he took a blade and slit his throat right in front of her. Lisa recoiled in terror, a scream caught in her throat. But then, just as suddenly, she realized that it had only been a vision. The scene then cuts to the cell, where Rocco is desperately attempting to escape. As he works on cutting through the bars, his cutter suddenly snaps. Frustrated, he informs Madison that there is a passage, but his tool is now useless. He assures her that once he escapes, he will bring help. Madison quickly throws another cutter toward him, but it lands out of reach. After struggling for a moment, he finally manages to grab it. Meanwhile, as Lisa sleeps, somebody enters her room. Moving slowly, it approaches her and lies down beside her. At first, its touch is subtle, almost gentle, but then its hand begins to move inappropriately before sliding up to her neck. Suddenly, it tightens its grip, strangling Lisa. Lisa's eyes widen in terror as she finally sees the entity. The sinister presence looms over her, tormenting her until suddenly she finds herself awake, now sitting in a chair, staring at the painting. Her breathing is unsteady as she takes in the horrifying sight before her. The entity from her dream has now appeared within the painting, its eerie form emerging from the canvas. Fear grips her as whispers and muffled cries begin to echo around the room. Just then, something falls to the ground. As she bends down to pick it up, she notices Julia standing behind her. The young girl warns her to run away, insisting that the painting is cursed. She then reveals that the entity in the artwork is a witch named Dorca and that if Lisa brings life to the canvas, she will be haunted forever. Without another word, Julia turns and leaves. The scene then shifts to Lisa meeting Marcus. Shaken, she confides in him about the terrifying experiences she has had in the mansion. Marcus suggests that perhaps she is simply feeling unsettled by the unfamiliar surroundings. The scene cuts to Aruda entering the cell area. He walks to the well and lowers a vessel inside. Pale hands emerge, one slicing its forearm to let blood drip into the vessel. Aruda pulls it back up, sets it aside, and heads toward Rocco's cell. Madison, realizing the danger, whispers to Tracy that if Rocco dies, they have no hope. To distract Aruda, she screams that she isn't afraid of him. Aruda turns, grabs her by the neck, and lifts her off the ground before throwing her down. Without hesitation, he unlocks her cell, drags her out, and slices her hand in two. Her screams fill the air as he peels skin from her back and tears out one of her eyes. Finally, he hauls her to the well and throws her in. Inside the well, a hideous and monstrous entity approaches Madison. It latches onto Madison, sinking its teeth into her neck before ripping open her stomach and devouring her. A final, chilling scream echoes. Then silence. Madison is gone. Lisa and Julia are seen talking in Julia's room about her crush when Lisa asks what is really going on. Julia, frustrated, says that her mother only thinks about herself and has completely ruined her life as she doesn't let her make a boyfriend. Before the conversation can continue, Emma enters and scolds Julia for what she is saying. She then tells Lisa to come with her. As they walk, Lisa brings up what Julia had told her, asking if Emma knows anything about the unsettling stories surrounding the painting. Emma dismisses it, saying that Julia has a habit of making up terrifying stories and indulging in strange fantasies. She warns Lisa not to believe her. Emma then shifts the focus back to the restoration, reminding Lisa that, as per the contract, any delays in delivering the painting will result in severe penalties. Later that night, while Lisa sleeps, a girl enters her room, sobbing as she pushes a wheelchair. Lisa wakes with a start, terrified to see Tony sitting in the chair. His legs and hands broken, his body covered in wounds. Behind him, Tracy stands crying. Desperate, she pleads for Lisa's help. Suddenly, Tony's eyes snap open. The scene shifts to Lisa with Marcus, where she shares her nightmares and her growing fear. She admits she wants to leave but feels trapped by the binding contract. Marcus advises her to focus on finishing her work as quickly as possible and tries to reassure her. Later, Lisa takes some medicine when she hears someone crying. Hesitantly, she follows the sound and pulls back a curtain, only to find Madison severely injured and weeping in a bathtub. Shocked, Lisa stumbles backward and runs out of the room, colliding with Emma. Emma calmly turns off the tap and accuses Lisa of taking drugs. Inspecting the painting, she scolds Lisa for neglecting her work and warns her that if the restoration isn't completed on time, she will face serious consequences. Rocco continues working on the passage, and after much effort, he finally unlocks it. Just as he tries to enter, a hand suddenly grips his neck. The entity mercilessly peels the skin from his face and devours it, killing him instantly. His agonized screams echo through the chamber, and Tracy cries out in terror. Meanwhile, Emma stands in front of a mirror, sipping her drink. In the reflection, Dorca appears, revealing that Emma has been behind everything all along. As Lisa focuses on restoring the painting, a knock interrupts her. She opens the door to find Julia, who enters with urgency. Julia explains that the painting was created in 1493 through the sacrifice of Billy, which summoned a monstrous being named Goran, allowing them to capture him. She warns that her mother intends to use Goran's blood to maintain eternal youth, and that if the red moon shines on the painting before midnight, the curse will be renewed for another 500 years. Lisa, doubtful, dismisses Julia's claims, remarking that she has a vivid imagination but insisting that she must finish her work. Julia describes the last 3 victims: 2 girls, 1 black and 1 blonde, and a guy. Lisa, shocked, asks if she is certain. Julia then leads her to the location where the prisoners are being held. As they approach, they see Aruda unlocking a door and entering the basement. Before they can proceed, Emma calls for Julia, forcing her to leave. Determined to help, Lisa picks a weapon to protect herself and carefully sneaks downstairs. She follows Aruda into the basement, but she accidentally knocks over metal rods as she moves. Panicked, she hides as Aruda steps out to investigate. From her hiding spot, she sees severed hands and legs crawling with maggots. Aruda, assuming the noise was from rats, heads back inside. Inside the cell room, Tracy freezes as Aruda approaches and unlocks her cell. He touches her, but she fights back, striking him before attempting to escape. However, she stumbles on the stairs, hitting her head and losing consciousness. When Tracy becomes conscious again, she finds Aruda looming over her with a heated knife. He presses it against her face, burning her skin as she screams in pain. Moments later, he holds her over the well, preparing to drop her in. Just then, Lisa attacks Aruda from behind, striking his face and rushing to free Tracy. They break away and start running. While fleeing, Tracy steps on a nail, crying out in pain. Lisa quickly removes it, but Tracy continues sobbing. Meanwhile, Aruda regains consciousness and surveys the scene. He notices the open passage and Rocco's half-devoured body. As he turns in anger, he suddenly freezes, dropping his weapon and kneeling as Goran stands before him. Without hesitation, the monstrous entity lunges, tearing into Aruda and consuming him. Tracy and Lisa sprint out of the mansion, desperate to escape. Suddenly, Marcus appears, and in a shocking betrayal, he shoots Tracy with his bow. Lisa watches in horror as Tracy collapses. Marcus, cold and unwavering, orders Lisa to enter the room with the painting. Inside, she finds a chilling scene: Emma, Doric, and some others standing in a circle. The tension in the room is heavy as they wait for midnight. Emma calmly instructs Lisa to complete the painting before the clock strikes 12. With no choice, Lisa picks up her brush and resumes her work. As the layers of damage fade, Emma's face begins to emerge on the canvas. But as Lisa continues, another image takes shape: Marcus's face, followed by the eerie chant Emma used to imprison Goran. The realization sets in. This painting holds the key to everything. Julia bursts into the room, her voice shaking with fury as she raises a torch, threatening to burn the painting. Emma quickly steps in, stopping her. Julia glares at her, rage boiling over as she accuses Emma of trapping her in a child's body for centuries, robbing her of a real life. Emma's expression darkens, and she commands Marcus to kill Julia. Lisa reacts instinctively, grabbing a bottle of cleaning solvent and flinging it into Marcus's face. Emma, seething with rage, lets out a furious shriek and fires an arrow straight into Lisa. As Marcus regains his footing and advances to finish them off, moonlight suddenly spills into the room. The pale glow washes over everyone, unraveling their deception. Before Lisa's eyes, their youthful appearances crumble, revealing their true forms: withered, grotesque, and ancient. The centuries of stolen time catch up to them all at once. One by one they wither, their bodies collapsing under the weight of centuries. Lisa and Julia watch in horror as Emma lets out a final, anguished scream. Her once youthful face twists in terror as her skin wrinkles, her body shrivels, and within moments she crumbles into a pile of ashes, vanishing as if she had never existed. Julia begins to change and turns to Lisa, telling her that she has to go too. As she rises, her body rapidly ages, and within moments she disintegrates into ashes, leaving Lisa utterly alone. In pain, Lisa stumbles toward the door, struggling to leave. Suddenly, Goran appears, moving straight toward her. Panicked, she slams the door shut, but he starts pounding on it relentlessly. Desperate, Lisa rushes to the painting and frantically scrubs away the section containing the chant. As Goran bursts through the door and storms into the room, she begins reciting the chant from the painting. Goran lets out a deafening scream, and then silence. The scene fades to black. 30 years later, Lisa remains in the mansion, unchanged by time. A woman enters and informs her that the Prime Minister has arrived with his wife and is requesting more. Lisa rises and makes her way to the basement. Downstairs, a team of doctors surrounds Goran, who is still alive but held captive. Lisa approaches and coldly instructs the doctor to increase production. The doctor takes a syringe and injects it into Goran's throat, triggering a blood-curdling scream. Lisa watches for a moment before turning and walking out of the room. The camera lingers on Goran's torment before fading to black, bringing the movie to its chilling end.